inflation when I living with starvation. Story done. How is that? I mean, it sounds frivolous, but it's the reality. Going back to the World Bank, not too long ago, 48% of our people, some say it's 52, who are living on $5.50 US a day. That's $1,100 a day. How do they manage? Quite a few of them are in the remote areas. A lot of them are in the coastal areas where we have so much of the population. So we can talk about inflation on a projectionary basis and a conceptual basis, but then we have the reality of starvation. We have got to take care of our people, and we have the means to do so, which is the oil money. End of story. I can't think of any right now.
Yes, comrades. PHK? Thank you. I give him a round of applause. And at forums like these, we're expecting to have you again. Yeah. We will now, we recognize that we have resource people who are out there and are underutilized. And we got to bring you guys inside. Let's stop. Thank you very much. All right. Give him a round of applause as he leaves. Yes, comrade. Well, we have had some. We started the question here now of where we're going to be looking at the oceans. DSK Lal hit on the one with cash transfer to help us to achieve that we are going to have in a short while. It may be important that we bring forward some people if we are going to get the agenda out as early as possible. And as we have the resource people on the ground, what we can do is to start using it. There's one area that we'll be addressing on sustainable development, UN, United Nations, Sustainable Development Goals 2030. I'm thinking to ask Dr. De Silva to make that presentation and on that, and that we can try to move on as fast as possible this afternoon. You know, the TUC has been a place where we'll never be able to finish our agenda items. This year, when we were planning this year, there were 2 or 3 women who were saying to us, we got to finish it this year. Simpson, doctor, you want to, we're bringing you from number 12, number 11 to come right up and bat at number 2.
Thank you very much, Comrade General Secretary. All protocols observed. However, I would like to say to my good friend, an old-time colleague, Brother Comrade Hamilton Green, happy birthday to you, and recognize in our presence. It's relatively difficult to speak on a subject like sustainable development after so many speakers have gone before me at subject. However, it is my duty and responsibility to deliver without repeating anything that they have said, but yet be significant. And one of those things, I would like you to know that the pieces of wood that you see around, they were all collected by me, written on by me to reflect the UN Sustainable Goals, and more importantly, the Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development, and to zero in on what role the TUC can play, ought to play, with respect to the Agenda 2030. I must also let you know that all those pieces, and I have at least about 1,000 plus, this is just a sample, are recyclable pieces. They're reused material. They're restored material. So I'm in the business of what you call restoration or zero waste. And I would like to call on the leaders of the TUC to join me in that process. It is one of the low-hanging fruits. You can go to all the communities where workers are and their families are, and they would be able to recycle, reuse, restore, and make money from it. And a very good example of that is the Chinese came to this country, went to our bauxite and other areas that has minerals, and what we were throwing away, they all took to China and made a lot of money from it. And at this time, I would like to upfront state that I believe and agree with the fact that we are the richest country in the world. And the earlier and the sooner you accept that, it would be better for all of us. From what I remember, in the Granger administration, I was following very closely what's going on. Since then, it was recorded we were the fastest growing economy in the world. However, we did not necessarily believe it, we did not embrace it, and we did. I'm calling upon us, leaders in the community, in the trade union, in Guyana, to understand what the UN Sustainable Development and the Sustainable Development Goals, which there are 17, along with 169 targets, 231 indicators. The trade union leaders must learn those goals, the targets, the indicators, because it's the mechanism that exists right now to move us from whatever stage that is, be it poverty to prosperity, from zero to hero. It is one of the mechanisms that all the leaders in the world, including 191, have agreed to embrace, agreed to implement, including the government of Guyana. The government of Guyana has skillfully implementing the sustainable development plans for the indigenous communities / villages. We, as leaders, must insist that sustainable development plans must be developed for all villages, all communities, including the people of African descent, of which there is a whole decade, from 2015 to 2024, almost coming to the end of the decade. But have we as leaders embraced the inclusion of ourselves, fight for it, in the dialogue, in the conversation, in the actions that ought to be taken to bring about solutions in our communities, in our heritage villages. We don't have to ask anyone to do that. And I would like to challenge us to redouble our efforts starting immediately. It's not about even the now factor. It's about this moment. Momentarily, we all must quickly get hold of all these speeches, the conversations that have taken place, are taking place, digest them, understand them, take them back to the union among the rank and file, take them back to the workers, digest them, and take massive action. We are responsible for our destiny. We cannot expect them to lead us in the right direction. That responsibility, it's ours. It's about my sustainability. It's about me loving me. If I do not love me, I cannot love you, cannot love my family, cannot love my community. So the question is, are we learning to love ourselves? Are we learning to empower ourselves? And I must tell you that oftentimes, I've analyzed it time and time again, we self-sabotage, and that must stop, and stop right now. It is happening all around us. Forget about the other parties. Forget about the others, wherever they are. Let us internalize and recognize that the creativity, the innovation, the ingenuity is within us. There is where we have to go within ourselves and come out. Otherwise, we are wasting time. And I call upon us, including myself, to use the simplest mechanisms, even if it were to be a piece of wood or a Sigen plant. And I would like to let you know that all of you who are attending this session, I'm personally donating a Sigen plant, everyone. But it's a Sigen plant in the name of the Union. It's a Sigen plant in the name of UN Sustainable Development. It's a Sigen plant in the name of all the UN Sustainable Development Goals. From that humble tree, which has over 301 diseases that it can treat or try to reverse, according to Ayurveda medicine. And it lasts for at least 30 years. And it grows easily in Guyana. You can use that Sigen tree to understand all the sustainable development goals, from poverty to prosperity, from zero hunger to food and nutrition security and sovereignty. And it must challenge us to understand that wherever we go, wherever we are, we must try to practice food and nutrition security. It's not about belly full. It's about the nutritional benefits that you get from the food you consume. I would like to remind you at this time that we are supposed to have at least 3 servings of vegetables per day to be considered food and nutrition secure. I see a brother in front of me smile, and I'm glad. Because if we as leaders do not do that, what we to happen when we go out there? We just merely not even talking. And I'm saying to us, let the conversation begin now. We're not talking it. Saijambaji, or moringa as they call it, amaranth, which is Kopembaji or Kaushit Baji, free. Watercolor, free. Then you could go to porcelain, free. They're everywhere. On the roadsides, in the streets, everywhere. Lotus, which we call water lily. I can name 21 plus, but time doesn't permit, that you can get for free. Where are we using those foods on a daily basis? Broadleaf thyme, one of the most nutritious food in the world. We have never seen a sick broadleaf thyme. Antibiotic, antifungal, antiparasitic. The brother talk about cancer, anti-cancer. All those foods I talk about are anti-carcinogenic. Lime, lemon, all of those. Guess what? Lemongrass, soursop, they grow profuse in this ground. Why aren't we growing millions of them? Do we have to ask Comrade Ali or Comrade Jack Dale to do that? No. And I would like to challenge us effective immediately. Lincoln talked about 118 years since Critchlow, Nathaniel Critchlow, was advancing the cause. I would like to challenge the trade union for us to, between now and the end of this year, have 118,000 plants created towards our food and nutrition security. And I will donate the first 1,000. And I'm prepared to volunteer to lead the team to make that successful. I think that deserves a round of applause. We need to learn to congratulate ourselves and need to know when to applause. Because if you applause, it means you are part of it. And I would hold you accountable, all of you, through the database that we'd like to have. I would like us to challenge the diaspora. The last time I checked, there's 1.2 million Guyanese in the diaspora, at least. Most of whom are in the United States of America. All of them are workers. All of them are connected to the workers of this country. Where are we as union leaders tapping into that valuable resource? Skillful, well-educated, very resourceful. Let us challenge them. We're not asking for handouts. We're asking to invest back into the communities where these workers, the laborers, the families are. Let us leave no community and no person in the diaspora. And then when I checked also, I know there are at least 200,000 Guyanese in the United States, undocumented, who are ready, willing, and able to be part of the struggle. And I would like you to know, we hear about the struggle continues. I agree with that. La lucha continua. Y la victoria es cierta. The struggle continues and victory is certain. But I would like to invoke the fact of the struggle now. Because when you talk about continue, people think it's about tomorrow. It is about the now factor. We must embrace what we do this moment. At this time, as soon as you could, leaders should be on their cell phones, soonest tapping into the diaspora, By the latest, within 24 hours, I would like to see us, before this conference is over, having established the TUC and the Diaspora Network, formally, with all of us as members, and all of us adding members, and hopefully, soonest, we will get to 118,000 members. Soonest. And we won't stop there. We're going towards at least 1 million. Comrades, brothers and sisters, we're in very serious times. If you look in our local communities, Buxton, for example, was a mecca for excellence in education. Someone spoke earlier. I think it was Carl himself, Lincoln himself, all the main speakers spoke about the need for education. Let us revisit quality education for all. Let us start with ourselves. And I would like to see that within days, we take on the concept of understanding all the Sustainable Development Goals. I know them, you would know them. And this thing I've not been talking about it now. Since before, in 2015, I remember going to Yarakaba School, at a primary school, and I spent one day, and all those children learned the goals in one day. I would expect that you will do the same. In one day, learn the Sustainable Development Goals. And then, parallelly, in one day, start with the application of the Sustainable Development Goals. In other words, TUC and the Sustainable Development Goals action. And I would ask, before we close Congress, apart from resolutions that can come out of it, I would like to see us combine, unite in action, not in one location, but we spread and we leave no one behind. We go to the length and breadth of Ghana. The technology exists. And I say again, we do not have to get the permission of anybody to do that. As we do that, we call on other civil societies. We call on all the non-governmental organizations. We call on all private sector agencies. We call on the self-employed union participants, agencies. We call on all and sundry to embrace. The last time I checked, I do not recall that there was a massive call by us in any formal way to do so. As a matter of fact, I would be the first to say that the government is making an effort. But in many instances, there's some exclusion. And we're saying we must have inclusion. It's part of the basic essence of inclusionary democracy. We have the tools, we have the mechanisms that we can use, we're not using it. I'm challenging us to begin to use it. This union is no stranger to an attempt, but let's redouble our efforts, because the Sustainable Development Goals are all human rights centered. So nobody can accuse you of anything. They're all people driven. They're all workers driven. The core of it is the rights of all of us. So let us make sure that whatever we do, we embrace it. It is very, very important. And let us make sure that we take it to all the sectors in this country, and we use the technology that are at hand. And Brother General Secretary, I would like to respectfully submit to you and the team the need for urgent action for the total transformation of the Trade Union Congress, and what was said by all the speakers, and that we spare no time to take serious, massive action that could bring about transformative change for the benefit of all the people of Guyana, the East Indian, the Amerindian, the Portuguese, the whites, and the people of African descent, and some who don't consider themselves as any of those in between. We must represent the one people, the one nation, and the one destiny. We are the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. We were given a legacy, and let us do not squander that legacy. We were given a significant heritage, which was fought by our grandparents, great, and that legacy is the legacy of cooperativism. And it is not by accident that our founder leaders, our founders, named this country the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, the only of its kind in the world. But are we using it? Are we monetizing it? Are we taking inventory on the ground and working with those people on a daily basis with all those agencies, institutions, including academic institutions, and all the stakeholders to make sure we capitalize on it and stop the hemorrhage, stop the bleeding, stop the land grabbing, stop the thievery, stop the re-enslavement of us as a people. We have the responsibility to stop that right now. And with that, Comrade Chair, I would like to end by saying, let us all join the struggle. Let us all unite for the interests of workers. Let us unite behind the Sustainable Development Goals, which is the only vehicle that I see now that can take us to the place we belong, with the backing of the spirit of our ancestors. Thank you.
Comrades, the doctor has spoken. Now the patient will speak. The UN Sustainable Development Goals 2030 has to be as I said earlier, has to be part of the armory of the trade union movement. Or the 2030, it is also the decade for the African people. We cannot lose sight of those things. These are not. Mr. Doctor, you made your point. Is there anybody who wants to speak on this issue? We have a couple of minutes more.
Thank you, Chairman. Dr. Silva, where are we as a country and the world with respect to the SDG?
Thank you for that very timely question. The world is way behind on the achievement of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. As a matter of fact, it's more like 24% at the stage where we should have been at this time. COVID-19 wreaked havoc and put us further in jeopardy. And that affected all the countries all over the world. In addition to that, the crisis, the conflict crisis, the food crisis, climate crisis, and all the other crises that you know of are causing serious problems. Matter of fact, the system, the economic system, social system, political system, environmental, and cultural system right now is broken. There's confusion all over the world. Guyana is no exception. So there needs to be a new socio-economic contract. We, fortunately, have the good fortune to be able to craft that and have a world model. We're few, less than 1 million people. And that's why I said throw in the diaspora. So we reach at least about 2 million. And that's merely a college project. Unfortunately, in Guyana, there's a lot of money. Whose money? Our money. It's the money of the workers, it's the money of the people of Guyana. Who is to fix it? We. Who is the government? Who the government supposed to account to? We as a people. Who's supposed to hold them accountable? We. So we are at a good point. While the world is in confusion, matter of fact, I must let you know I'm heading to Chile on the 14th for a technical workshop on people of African descent and rurality. But you know, there's no rurality without that urban-rural continuum. And I'm supposed to be representing International Decade for People of African Descent. And I must let you know what we are talking about here. With the permission of you guys, which is the conference, I will take anything of significance to Chile at that Latin America and Caribbean Forum, because what we are doing here is monumental. It is groundbreaking, and that is why the challenge to you is take up the mantle and run it with it. And if you were to do that, you would go down in record that you are doing something significant to fix the broken system. Guyana is moving apace in the indigenous community. I must let you know that. I was part of a team since in 2015 when the UN came, and a lot of work started started since then. Because the Amerindians had 2 decades. One decade was like how people of African descent is having a decade, and the other decade is being financed by development partners for the sustainable development of those communities. So we have asked for an extension of the decade beyond 2024. The person who is in charge of the Permanent Forum of the United Nations for People of African Descent is Guyanese. So we are at a good place. And come the meeting in Chile, a lot is going to come out from that. Then I'm going to Brussels on the 27th on the CARIFORUM European Economic Partnership Agreement and the Consultative Committee. There again, the trade union has a place. The trade union ought to sit at all those tables formally. So I'm calling upon us to take our rightful place. So we must be responsible and bring about a solution to that same question they've asked about our local status. And if you were to check, there's some communities, I have been checking it, the essence of sustainability is injected. Look around, you'll see it. They're there, yet there are many other communities are left behind. The word is leave no community or leave no one behind. So I challenge you, my brother, please let us unite and let us fight, as Lincoln said. And as Ernesto Che Guevara used to say, la lucha continua, la victoria es cierta. The struggle is on.
Thank you very much, Doc. Once again, happy birthday to the young man. She ain't reached yet. We want to wait until. Okay. The Guyana Trade Unions Congress, in partnership with the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, UN 2030 Agenda, and its Sustainable Development Goals. Today, I wish to move this motion on behalf. Be it resolved that this 5th Triennial Delegates Conference, aware of the importance of Sustainable Development Goals 8, which is about promoting inclusive and sustainable economic growth, employment, and decent work for all. Aware of that aspect of the Sustainable Development Goal 8, as it relates to employment and decent work, falls within the purview oversight of the trade unions, which seek to secure for their members fair income, equality, and safe working conditions. Conscious that several groups, such as persons with basic education and little or no skills, and persons living in the same rural area in the hinterland and other remote areas, have little access to jobs. Cognizant of the role of the Guyana Trade Union Congress as an association of major unions and the duty of the trade unions to protect labor rights in cognizant also of Article 23 of the Constitution of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, which provides inter alia for State and Trade Union Corporation mandates the Central Executive of the Guyana Trade Union Congress to establish a national technical working group to work to ensure the alignment of selected policies of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana with the Sustainable Development Goals using the SDGs 8 approach, as well as ensuring that constitutional rights are protected. Also mandates the Central Executive of the Guyana Trade Union Congress to establish a secretariat to advance the conversation, to develop action plans, and aid in resolving labor-related conflicts in heritage villages, communities. This conference thus mandates this national technical working group to be formed, to also to be involved in designing, planning, the implementation, monitoring, and evaluation at all levels of the state. Motion so moved by Colin Bino. Are there any? Thank you very much. I just wish to, before we deal with the voting on the motion, to give persons an opportunity to make comments or whatsoever they'd like to say about this motion before I call on the General Secretary to take the vote on this motion. I thank you.
I wish to suggest an amendment to this motion. Where we have, I want to suggest, the Guyana Trade Union Congress in partnership with, I said Guyana Trade Union Congress in collaboration with stakeholders. First paragraph, opening paragraph. In collaboration. No, partnership is joined together. Collaboration, we work in tandem. We work in tandem. Yeah, we put collaboration with stakeholders. It may be, when you reach goal number 70, it speaks to partnership. What I'm saying, that we collaborate to meet to that. That's the reason why. That is the change that I believe in.
Thank you very much, Brother General Secretary. I wish to then reread the motion, so in the form that we are saying we would like to have it before we so accept it. It says, Guyana Trade Union Congress, in collaboration with stakeholders, UN 2030 agenda, and its sustainable development goals. That's what it will now read. I have removed the word partnership, and I've removed the words the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. And I so move. Thank you.
Let me have the ayes for the amendment. Those who agree, say aye. Aye. Those who are not in agreement, nay. Good. So the amendment has been carried. Let me now seek to put the motion to the House. Those who are in agreement, say aye. Those who are not in agreement, say nay. Then the ayes have it. The motion has been carried. Thank you. I've gotten rid of that. The next issue we're going to be discussing is that the GPSU has tabled a motion on the question of the where's Pancham? Huh? That's it. Yes. You know, this government today has once again breached the law and has taken the privilege, not the privilege, has decided it's going to impose benefits or what is considered benefits without talking with the recognized union or negotiating with the recognized union. It is for that reason this House has to address this issue. And I will want to call on the first Vice President of the Public Service Union to come to address this House as we start the process of discussing where we go. After the GTU, after the GPSU, we'll have the GTU, and we will take a decision this afternoon on this issue. Thank you. Mr. John Gardner.
Thank you very much, GS. A pleasant good afternoon to you, brothers and sisters. As a trade union, we're happy to be part of this Congress today. Unfortunately, preparing for this conference, there was an arbitrary imposition. I will then ask the union's education officer to read a statement, because immediately after the president made that arbitrary announcement this morning, the Guyana Public Service Union issued a press statement. And we also have a motion that we're going to ask this Congress to adopt, of which the General Secretary for the GPSU will take the motion. So the Education Officer will read the statement, followed by the motion from the General Secretary.
Thank you very much, First Vice President. Good afternoon, everyone. And this is the statement from the Guyana Public Service Union. The arbitrary announcement delivered by President Ali today, November 9th, 2023, on workers' relief. The Guyana Public Service Union was made aware of the arbitrary, insensitive, and unimpressive announcement delivered by President Ali on his Facebook page today, November 9th, 2023, regarding what he termed as relief for workers and pensioners of this country. This relief is viewed as blatant bypass and an insult to workers and pensioners in light of the astronomical increases in the cost of living. The president also stated that he will make an announcement shortly with respect to increases in wages and salaries for all categories of workers. The Guyana Public Service Union strongly condemns these arbitrary impositions, which are in conflict with the President's obligations with his oath of office to respect and uphold the Constitution and laws of Guyana. These and any other future impositions amount to the abuse of workers' rights to collective bargaining, which is evidence of the President's high-handed approach, together with his continued focus on upholding bad governance, and has always been his government's hallmark, compounded with a deliberate policy of keeping workers vulnerable and at a level of poverty. It would seem, therefore, that the President is oblivious to the dire consequences that his methodologies in this regard would have for workers and people of this country. These continued violations impunge workers' rights and also disastrous to their quality of life and the livelihood of their families. The Guyana Public Service is therefore calling on all workers to be steadfast and in a state of readiness to confront these constitutional abuses. In the prevailing circumstances, workers should view all payments made based on the President's proclamation as advances on merited labor debt due and payable to them. The union is also reminding the government of Guyana, as the largest employer, that the laws of Guyana must be respected in its entirety, to the effect that collective bargaining with workers' representatives must be enforced, before which announcements made, such as these, are made. As the largest employer in the country, with the responsibility of guiding the enactment of laws in the legislature, the government should seek to set an example for other employers rather than the current posture. I thank you.
Thank you, my sister. Is there anybody else from the General Public Service Union who want to speak on the collective bargaining or the imposition? Or public service?
Good afternoon, everyone. My task this afternoon is to present to you our resolution on this matter. The Guyana Public Service Union, resolution number 1, call for good governance and respect for trade union rights in Guyana. At this GTUC 5th Triennial Delegates Conference, November 8th, 2023, 8th to 10th, 2023. It was at Polydor Auditorium, Pittsfield Labour College. Noting that the practice of bad governance and executive lawlessness in Guyana is prevalent. Noting that the Parliament of Guyana has ratified International Labour Organization Conventions numbers 87, 98, and 151. Further, noting that the government of Guyana continuously denies the Guyana Public Service Union, the certified bargaining agent for public workers, the right to free collective bargaining. And whereas the government of Guyana had also entered into a collective agreement for the avoidance and settlement of disputes with the Guyana Public Service Union, which is legally binding under the laws of Guyana. And noting that the government of Guyana has not honored its obligations in this agreement and constantly abuses workers' rights in conflict with agreements entered into with the Guyana Public Service Union to address and resolve disputes related to conditions of service, including wages, salaries, and allowances, negotiations, and has embarked on a practice of imposing grossly inadequate increases in wages and salaries, as well as allowances, consecutively over the last 2 decades, that is from 2001 to 2022. Whereas it is estimated that over 80% of Guyana public service workers receive wages and salaries below the poverty line. And whereas some aspects of the judiciary of Guyana has not been responsive to litigation initiated by the Guyana Public Service Union and its members in a timely manner to enforce their rights in cases brought before the courts to the prejudice of the workers, in some cases has effectively resulted in denial of justice to the union and its members. Directs the General Secretary of the Guyana Trade Union Congress to call on the government of Guyana to honor its obligations and to observe good governance practices, faithfully act in accordance with the Constitution and laws of Guyana, honor its existing obligations in agreements with the Guyana Public Service Union, conclude all negotiations, and recognize and respect the process of free collective bargaining in the future. Mandates the General Secretary of the Guyana Trade Union Congress to convey these concerns to the President of Guyana, Finale, and request that the government of Guyana honor its international obligations as a member state of the United Nations, International Labour Organization, Organization of American States, and CARICOM, conform to the principles of democracy, act in accordance with the Constitution and laws of Guyana, and honor its commitment in agreements with the Guyana Public Service Union. Mandates General Secretary of the Guyana Trade Union Congress to bring this resolution and its contents to the attention of the Secretary General, United Nations, Director General, ILO, Secretary General, OAS, Secretary General, CARICOM, and request that they use their offices to intervene and to impress upon the government of Guyana to honor its obligation in keeping with its membership and oath of office in accordance with the Constitution of Guyana. I, Captain Alexander, General Secretary, Guyana Public Service Union, so move.
Thank you. A second now. We ain't got take the name and thing after. Before I put it to the vote, is there any discussion that you would like to? Yeah. Thank you, brother.
I'm new to anything about union, and I just have to clarify something. Now, according to what the brother said, anything that the government is doing right now is against legal protocol. Would that be correct? But the law stipulates that it must go in a certain way, right? You have to consult with the union and them and the union have to come to an agreement before such decision is being made. Now, I had some problems, and this is my understanding. Bible teaches anything against the law is a curse. Who know? I know that, right? Now, it's just like a home. If the head of the home says, do this, and you do that, right? You become eligible for whatever disciplinary action was taken. And from what is said here now, right? I would be in agreement that whatever motion is here, this will be going back to the government, I presume, stating that you're all in disagreement with their protocols. Right? So if you don't get away, you've got to take a legal stand. Well, my suggestion with a legal stance, you got to get union reps to be in with you. Because we know what is going on in Guyana. Let me tell you what is going on in Guyana that I have and come to Friday. I took the town clerk, some of the staffs are here, Crocker Market, deputy, and the senior revenue officer the court for bribing corruption. The matter was called, right? And the dear lawyer submissions that the DPP has to intervene. According to my knowledge, the section that I use under the Act, the DPP cannot interfere with it. In any case, the magistrate did her own research and she came back and she said, no, DPP cannot interfere with it. It so happened, why I'm telling you all this, you got to be careful. It so happened that on the fourth calling, right, before the submit, there has to be an amendment to the laws. Now, I know, right, and I think most people out there, for amendment to come to law, it has to go to Parliament, right? But here what happened then? What happened that when the court, I can't remember the date, but it was a call over matter. I went and checked the law, right? The law was amended without going to Parliament. So I asked for an old copy of the same volume. And the old copy doesn't have the amendment, but this copy has got the amendment, right? It was recently printed, right? On the 3rd of November, when I went to court, I saw the magistrate that did the call over. She did an endorsement. As an old court worker, right? I don't know what she put there. Right? I don't know what she did, right? I figured she shouldn't have. All she had to do was call if you were all there, right? Give us a date and refer the case back to whichever magistrate it was. Right? I saw she doing some right. I don't know what she wrote, right? And the next court date, when we went back, our magistrate, who the matter was, tell me the matter was dismissed. Now, the reason why I'm making the suggestion is that their lawyer, right, who I would say maybe is a PPP affiliate, right, or whoever he is, right, maybe he get a value make, right, with the amendment, that particular value. I went back to the court after Friday, right, after she dismissed, I went back to the parliamentary office and I checked, right, you know what I found? That value is no longer there. The value was being removed. So, this is how laws work. If I'm a judge or a magistrate, and whatever law come to me, that is what I got to rule on. So I want to believe, right, that these people, right, do their own thing where laws are concerned. So when a magistrate or a just has to make a decision. Well, Your Honor, or Your Worship, this is what the law says. Right? What they're introducing there is not what passed in Parliament. So you have got to be very careful. You got to be on the ball. Right? I was to feel it, but I prepare something. It should come in the media soon. Right? That is the situation. Because the media matter what should not have tried it. So there's the conflictiness about the law. Right? They do their own thing, certain lawyer, right, with whoever. Right? So when the magistrate rule now, it's wrong. Because it didn't pass in Parliament, the amendment. So from what you say here, I would go with the motion because you have a certain protocol. You cannot do as you like. God didn't put us here to do as we like. As I tell people, you can't tell people what you like, but you can't do people what you like. Because there's consequences. That is my understanding.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing it. Yeah, thank you.
Just to let everybody know, Article 147.3 of the Constitution of the Corporate Republic of Guyana states that there must be collective bargain between the union and the employer. So it's not no law that can be changed. To change the Constitution, you have to get two-thirds majority or a referendum. Thank you.
Thank you. Valid point.
I just want some clarification, Brother Vice President. Yes, as you mentioned the agreements that the government of Guyana is signatory to, I think ILO and something else. Technically, this government was not in power when those agreements were signed. But I'm wondering if they are ratified every year or on a regular basis, because they can always say, I didn't sign no agreement. I just wanted that to be sure that, well, because they're using every trick in the book that they can use to be able to skirt and get around the law, as the brothers has just highlighted. So I just wondered if that is one possible means.
As Mr. Livon stated just now, the Constitution cannot be arbitrarily amended. You must have a percentage. Apart from that, we have the Trade Union Recognition Act, which also states that the employer must act in good faith. We have agreements that the government of Guyana has signed with the Guyana Public Service Union, and those agreements are also enforced. You also have the conventions that were ratified by Parliament, which the government has to report to the ILO. And they have terms of each convention has a different time of reporting to the ILO. And those conventions are also enforced. So there is no way that they can escape. It's just that it's an abuse of power.
Thank you, my sister. Just to add, it is not the Public Service Union alone. Nearly every union that have bargaining rights with the autonomous agency or semi-autonomous agency, we go through this thing. I was fortunate to ask the finance minister at our discussion we had on the budget, why is it that we could negotiate, and I give you the example of the Guyana rice market. Why is it that we are allowed to negotiate for all the other benefits, different benefits and whatever, but when it comes to wages, the management is saying, no, you got to wait on the finance minister. And you know what he said to me? He said, Pancham, we want to standardize this thing. We want a 5% there and a 10% there. And that was his explanation, the standardization of the wage policy. But we didn't accept that. They brought Lincoln Lewis, and I'll expand on the imposition. So we agree that we got to find some new formula to deal with this imposition. Yes, Mrs.
afternoon again. What we have noticed throughout from 2015 through to 2023 is that we have companies, foreign companies, and I guess you people at GPSU may encounter some of these crises that we face. Even the Guyana Teachers Union will encounter, as long as union, we all come to these challenges each day. We find that we have companies coming into Guyana, and they are giving our workers contracted agreements to work with. And they throw collective bargaining out of the window, so they have no union coming in to represent those workers. And we are faced with many companies in and around Guyana, and I could name a few, don't want to, but I could, that are taking our workers and give them 6 months to 1 year contracts to work with companies. And if they only affiliate or be named affiliated by any union, their work will be dismissed by the company. And we see persons dismiss a whole heap of workers because they were part of a union. Troy Resources was one of them that dismissed workers because they were part of a union, and then call back those same workers to work on contracts. We've seen it with the oil giants, we've seen it with the gold mining companies, and we also seen it with the bauxite mining companies. But all of this is said, that the government is the one that giving those persons the support, those foreign companies the support to do our workers those things. And we are the union, unless we decided to say, well, we're going to come together as one body under one umbrella and stand for workers in this country, we in no way. We have to have solidarity. Solidarity is forever. Thank you.
Thank you. And this emphasizes the GS point that we call for an industrial code, because a matter like this is raised just now. In industrial relations, at least when we did it, we know about two contracts: the contract for service and the contract of service. There is no third contract, right? So somebody got to test the waters. Somebody got to test this contract, this so-called fixed-term contract, right? So here is where the industrial code could come in and make a decision for us. So thank you, my sister. If there's no other question on the motion, I will now put it to the floor. Those in favor say aye. Those against? Before I take the vote, before I announce the winner? Oh, no,
there are a few strong things we got to put. These people taking us for granted. They are taking us for granted. We don't have money to fight them. I want to tell you, I think I'll look on the net and see what's going on. These people working for employers, the government working for employers, and the government working for their friends. They now work for us. I suggest something. You see this issue? We got to carry this government to the courts. And we can't get one group decide, another group decide, another group decide. We have to decide that we must set up, while we may not get the industrial vote now, while we're going to fight for that, we got to decide that what we must have is a legal committee. A legal committee. We got to get a couple lawyers to work for Bowman at some point. We got to get people, we got to work together. Let me share something. There are people who, Kyle made a point, Greenwich made a point yesterday, that we're not networking as we should. We got to start networking. We got to intensify our networking. We have to do that. We have to throw our couple cents together, and we have to set a legal team, legal department to do this thing. We're carrying it to the court. We can talk from now till the tow come home, but we got to fight. Unless we fight, then the only way we're going to get something. We got to start doing that now. And we got to fight about all these transgressions that are taking place. These violations of laws. Oh, well, I heard somebody was talking about what the law says, what the Constitution says. Yes, the Constitution says, but the Constitution is strengthened on 23(1) of the Trade Union Recognition Law, which says that the employer has to negotiate in good faith. We got to start, we got to carry them to court. We got to fight back. We can't stop at this point. We can't weak out. Every journey begins with the first step. I want to suggest that in this, whatever we agree on with this motion, two things we got to do. We got to start at least putting in place mechanism to start public demonstration. We got to start putting mechanism in place for public demonstration against the government as an employer and its courts. Got to start doing that. And the other one, we got to go to the courts. We got to go to the courts. We can't sit down. Let me tell you something. By tomorrow afternoon late, we're going to get a new executive. Nobody come in and take no position on this executive. I want to tell you, if I am prepared to go there and work, don't come, man. You got to prepare to go there and work. This thing here is not about status. This thing here is about delivering for the workers of this country. We can't walk with briefcase and say that we are secretary, we are president of unions, and we are this and that, and we don't want to go there. I got to commend the General Workers Union. They have been out there a year and months. Give them a round of applause. Walk with the banner every Friday. They have been out there. We got to start. Let me tell you something. Even if it's two of us, we got to start going. We got to do, things got to be better. This thing here, trade union, this is about drinking coffee and eating sandwich. Gotta get belly. And we gotta go there and fight. Okay? So I want to suggest, Pancham, that we include in this motion the issue of that we got to start preparing for action. Action. Not only in the form of establishing a legal department, but also, let me hear you, what you have to say. We want a legal department, and we also want us to start political work on the ground. And we're going to identify, as soon as one of the first things where the executive council will have to do is to identify the unions that are going to be involved and let the unions dominate people. We've got to work. We've got to do things differently. This year is a big task, but when it's a big task, we got to work against this government. Let me tell you something. I don't know, many of you may be worried when I talk now. There are people who just meet me on the road and tell me that I have contributed to the Ranger government being in the opposition. I want to tell you something. If you put all the power in my hand that I have contributed by writing about what the transgressions and violations is doing, I want to tell you something. If they go back in power and they do the same thing, I'm going to write again. I'm going to write again. Law is meant for people use it to oppress people. Law made for governments and men and women to really respect it and respect people's rights. And I want to tell you something further. If you sit down, society don't grow by you sitting down and accept violation and transgression. Society grow when you think and challenge decisions. You know you get a light? I ever know you get it? I don't tell everybody the light. It's two poles give you the light. A positive and a negative. And you get a light. If all of us think one way, there will be no improvement. I want to tell you further. Them people is now put bread on your table. Them putting bread on your table. You can't beg them for anything. You are paying them from your tax dollars. And you are equally entitled to the things that are the patrimony of this country. You're not begging anybody. So don't be afraid. Brothers and sisters, this is a matter that is absolutely important that we must prepare to march. If it's 2 away, if it's 3 away, journey start with the first step. Right? Pick up the placard and there we go. I want to tell you something. I want to tell Alex. I don't care where you vote for, you know. I don't care where they vote for. What I care about is that whosoever in government must respect the constitution and laws of the land. You must respect the rights, uphold the rights of people. And if, per chance, they do something that is not in consonant with the Constitution and laws, then we got to jock the rope. Got to jock the rope. I want you to tell me, I'm telling you again. Yesterday I started to tell you, this thing get politics inside. And you must not be afraid of politics. As I said earlier, politics determine, we say, you live under a condition where the next baby will born and who will die and what conditions you're going to die under. It's from the womb to the tomb. Politics determine it. We got to fight back. Mancham, comrades, I'm suggesting those two things be put in place. Thank you. May God bless you.
Right now, this matter of the collective bargaining is before the court and it's sub judice. We've taken the government to court.
And discuss your case.
Yeah, I'm just letting the audience know that before the case, before the court.
Okay. But,
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I want to mention it just now about the participation of the General Workers Union. And I want to say to us all that we need to be forceful and to come out. My suggestion is, if we have, as a part of this body, about 11 or 12 unions, all we need is about 5 persons from each union to come out and to go out and demonstrate. Numbers matter. Numbers. So I'm suggesting that we need to, as was said, about the participation of General Workers Union, we were there, and it happened. We were there for 23 or how many Fridays, and we were out there and something happened. I think it went to $60,147, right? But it need to go further than that, as I heard, $150,000. But the thing is, each union, we need to come out and participate. Every day that we come out, at least we must be there in our numbers. And numbers matters. And that's cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brother Collin. Where we were at the motion, right? Those in favor and those against. So there you have it with the amendment to include what the GS suggested. I would now like to call on the. You want to take the mic later? Wait, it wasn't a draft. Okay. Thank you. Brothers and sisters, we had the General Secretary report, and I was just informed by our last chairman that it wasn't adopted. So I now would like to adopt the General Secretary report. Could I have a seconder? Brother Miller? And I'll now put it to the vote. Those who in favor, say aye. Those against? So we adopt the General Secretary report. Thank you. And I would like to recommend, what, you want to say something? Our past mayor, Brother Narayan, Pandit Yuvraj Narayan, I'd like to say a few words to us.
Thank you, Comrade Chair. Members of the Trade Union Congress delegates present, good afternoon to you. The meeting office of the mayor, I get in touch, while in office of the mayor, myself and the General Secretary, Lincoln Lewis, become very close in terms of dealing with policies of the municipality. And I started to visit his office here very often, myself and now Councillor, then CEO, Leland Saul. And one thing amazed me about this gentleman, wanted betterment for his workers. The labor movement need to step up a game once again. Why I make mention of this, and something saddened me this morning on the government announcement. It is not bashing any government, and I share the same sentiment with the General Secretary. You have a democratic right to vote who you want to vote for at any election. But the people's right is what important. It is the people who carry on this nation every day. A government don't work for you. You work for the government, and they have to give you what you rightly belongs to you. We find that the government operate in a manner that where they give you what they feel like to give to you. But I want to say to you that labor movement of the trade union Congress, we need to go out there and fight this battle. Last night I leave here and I was reading about the International Labor Organization, where they had several conferences in the Caribbean and Latin America with different agencies and stakeholders, where they're fighting for human rights and justice for laborers like you. While sitting here a few minutes ago, I was telling the colleagues that their issue in Region 3, where you have employees are punishing the labor by working them overtime. But the employees are working them overtime, where they're not given any form of overtime, any form of lunch, any form of dinner. These are garbage companies as well in Region 3. These are things we need to look into. You have hotels that prosecution of our young ladies to get jobs at the hotels right in the city and out of the city. We need to look into those things. This is human rights. Why should we send our children out there to have an affair with a CEO or a manager to get a job? That is not human rights. And this is a forum that we have to represent those people. So I want to say to you this afternoon that beside putting my politician hat at the side, I'm ready to fight with you and hold hands with you to walk the street to demand better wages and salary for our people. Because I believe that we are getting chicken feed. We are getting crumbs from a cake. And this thing is not about the Irfan Ali government. This is about any government. We must fight for our rights. We must fight for our rights. We must fight for benefits. Look what the teacher have to ensure that the president announced earlier today. That is disrespectful to the teachers. Totally disrespectful to the people who create judges and create doctors and lawyers, and they have to be paid the lowest in this country. It is shameful on the government to make such an announcement. One bonus or cash out bonus cannot do anything for you in the supermarket. Cannot do anything for you in the supermarket. I went to the supermarket recently, and what my bill came up on snacks alone for my kids, $70-something thousand. These are things you must be able to calculate, and the Guyanese people need to put these things together and think, where are we heading as a nation with policymakers in this country? We cannot move forward, my brothers and sisters, my Guyanese. We need to step up. Whether what race you are, what religion you are, this thing has nothing to do with that. This thing has about our future, our children, our grandchildren, because you will have others come here and eat the sweet while we will suck the salt. I am telling you that. So I want to say to you this afternoon, let us put our shoulder to the wheels, and we need to move forward. And why I make mention wheels, there are many gaps to fill. that we are falling short on, and we need as the human race. It is our right in this country to fight and demand what is right for ourselves and our children and grandchildren. Well, that's why I was late for this conference. I was at the court all day again, where the case is put off again for the 5th. Same case, 1 year, still fighting for the vendors. And I've said this before, I am not fear of any politician, I am not fear of any government, I am not fear of any political party, I'm not fear of anybody. I will go down with you, the people, because you deserve what is right for you. You deserve equality. You deserve all the resources that this country has. We is the owner, and we must get it right. We must get it right. So I want to say to you finally, let us put our shoulder to the wheels and let us fill this gap. 2024 is a couple days away. We need to do more protests. We need to come out there with our placards. And I want you to take an example of Panama. Panama City. I want you, the people, take an example of it. Recently, the government of Panama signed a deal, and the bodyguard of the president was on the street protesting. The doctors down stool, the nurses, the teachers, all of them down tool, and was on the street protest. One of the biggest massive protests in Panama recently. That is what we have to do to any government for our rights. I thank you.
Thank you, Brother Pandit and past Mayor. I now would like to call on the representative of the Guyana Trade, the GTU, to have listed the GTU to say a few words on collective bargaining. And the representative from GTU. If not, I don't think we have anything more on the program, unless anybody want to say a few words, and we'll close for the day. Anybody? If not, brothers and sisters, let me take this opportunity. Okay, we'll take the PSU rep once again.
Brothers and sisters, we're happy that collective bargaining had so much discussions. It was really interesting, and I hope that this is an eye-opener for us. This is not about the Guyana Public Service Union. It's about the workers, unionized and ununionized workers. And as a union, we have to be the ones, we're elected to serve the workers. And collectively, we have to do it, regardless of which union we represent. So I'm happy that this topic attracts the discussion that it attracts. And I am in support, as the representative of the Guyana Public Service Union, leading the delegation of the union, that we are ready, prepared and ready to join with other trade unions to fight the fight to represent the interests of the workers. We are ready. We are prepared and ready to do that. As a matter of fact, we have issued a statement of which my sister read earlier on the imposition. We are currently preparing another statement because we recognize that the announcement is less than 10% of the withdrawal. So here we go tomorrow, you'll hear another statement coming from the Guyana Public Service Union. The president is currently working on it with another team. We were late this morning because with the president, we were working on that statement. However, in our absence from the office, another team is working on that subsequent press release. So we will have another statement tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, my sister. Just to remind one and all, when it comes to collective bargaining on wages and salaries, those are not political issues. Those are issues that cut across all barriers. Collective bargaining, we should be out there in our full force. Nobody could accuse you of being political when you stand up for collective bargaining or wages and salaries or any other fringe benefit. So those who might be afraid to come out, make sure when you look at it, we struggling for collective bargaining. Let's separate the politics from the industrial. Thank you. And again, Sister want to say a few words? All right, let me hit the last speaker and then we can close.
I want to remind each and every union that is present here today what the word teams mean. Together, each achieves more. And if we come together as one unit, we can say to this government, we as a collective can say to this government, I know they come with scare tactics. They would send out their police, they would send out their soldiers, but at the end of the day, we have to come together and fight them. We can come with guns, but we can come with brains. Boots on the ground, we need numbers. We ain't backing down. The teachers know it when I joined their strike. Leave all the way from Linden to join them. They have other companies that we need, ununionized companies that are being advantaged, that we need to come together as one and make sure that we call for collective bargaining. And if I'm joining forces, Guyana Bauxite and General Workers Union is ready to join forces with any union that is willing to stand to this government to say they are there to serve us. We are not there to serve them. And if they are there to serve us, then we have the right to make that call. Thank you.
Thank you, my sister. And let me, the General Secretary, thank you for your attendance for the second day of this Congress. And I hope to see you all tomorrow, 9 sharp. Tomorrow will be final day, so we'll have a packed agenda. I hope we could conclude before 4 o'clock tomorrow. But you got to be here early. Once again, thank you.